Ever wished you could, like, step onto the sands of a galaxy far, far away?
Yeah.
Well, you actually can.
Oh, really?
This deep dive takes us to Tatooine,
Okay.
the iconic desert planet from Star Wars.
Right.
What makes this deep dive so fascinating
Yeah.
is that a lot of what you see on screen was filmed in real-world locations,
Interesting.
specifically Tunisia.
Cool.
Get ready to see Tatooine in a whole new light as both a product of imagination and a place you can actually visit.
That's right. Southern Tunisia, with its harsh, otherworldly desert landscape,
Wow.
provided the perfect backdrop for Tatooine. It's not just a setting. It truly feels like another character in the story.
Interesting.
Even Mark Hamill,
Yeah.
who played Luke Skywalker,
Right.
said that being there made him feel transported to another world.
You did?
He said, if you could get into your own mind, shut out the crew, and look at the horizon, you really felt like you were transported to another world. I really was in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. First, how did they even come up with the name Tatooine?
Right.
It sounds otherworldly, yet strangely familiar.
The name actually comes from a real Tunisian city called Tatooine,
Okay.
which the film crew used as a base during filming.
Interesting.
Interestingly, George Lucas originally wanted to name the planet Utapau,
He did?
but he switched it to Tatooine because it sounded too similar to a character name from Star Trek.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a fun little tidbit.
Yeah.
But a name's just a name, right?
Right.
What about the actual places where they film?
Well, one of the most visually striking locations is the slave quarters,
Okay.
where Anakin Skywalker, who later becomes Darth Vader,
Right.
grew up.
Right.
The filmmakers didn't build these from scratch, though.
What?
They used existing structures called Ksar,
Okay.
fortified Berber villages found in and around Tatooine.
Cool.
They specifically used 3 Ksar Hadada Ksar Ouled Soltane and a Ksar located in Medenine.
So these Ksar weren't just random buildings they
Yeah.
found. They actually served a purpose, right?
Exactly. Ksar are multi-story structures
Wow.
made up of vaulted rooms called gorfas,
Okay.
carved directly into soft rock.
Interesting.
The Ksar in Medenine in particular was used for several key scenes in the movie.
Okay.
For example, this is where Anakin sheltered Qui-Gon Jinn and Queen Amidala from a sandstorm,
Oh, wow.
and also where he had that tearful goodbye with his mother before leaving with the Jedi.
Wow, it's amazing to think that these ancient structures ended up playing such a key role in shaping the look and feel of Tatooine.
What's fascinating here is how these structures reflect the ingenuity of the Berber people.
Yes.
They had to adapt to a harsh environment and create a way to protect themselves.
Okay, moving from Anakin's childhood home.
Right.
Let's talk about another iconic location.
Okay.
Mos Espa, the bustling spaceport where we first meet Anakin.
Yeah.
Where did they film that?
Mos Espa was built on the Chott el Jerid salt flat
Okay.
near an oasis called Tozeur.
Mm-hmm.
You can still see the set today,
Oh, really?
the spaceport gate.
Wow. The pod racing area even shops like Watto's and Sebulba's Cafe? Really? It's remarkably well preserved considering it's in the middle of the desert, so they just left it standing there after filming.
Yeah.
It's like an open-air Star Wars museum in the middle of Tunisia.
It really speaks to the impact the film had on the area.
Yeah.
Locals and fans alike have worked hard to preserve the set.
Good for them.
They even hosted a music festival there
Oh, really?
called Les Dunes Electroniques.
Imagine partying on a Star Wars set in the middle of the desert.
I know.
Speaking of iconic places, there's that dramatic rock formation where Darth Maul lands his ship.
Oh, yeah.
What's the story behind that?
That's Camel Head Rock,
Okay.
which you can find near Mos Espa.
Mhm.
It's a naturally formed rock formation
Cool.
where in the film Darth Maul sends out probes to look for Queen Amidala.
Right.
In real life, it's a popular spot to watch the sunset.
It's incredible how the filmmakers use these real places to bring their fictional world to life. From bustling spaceports to dramatic rock formations, Tatooine feels so real.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about Luke Skywalker's childhood home,
Right.
the Lars homestead.
Yeah.
Where did they find a place that could look so isolated and desolate?
They actually filmed the Lars homestead in 2 different locations.
Okay.
For the interior, they used Hotel Sidi Driss,
Okay.
located in Matmata.
Yeah.
What makes this hotel so unique
Yeah.
is that it's built into traditional Berber cave dwellings called troglodytes.
Wow.
Then, for the exterior shots, they built a set on the Chott el Jerid salt flat near Nefta.
Okay.
This is where we see scenes like Obi-Wan delivering baby Luke to Owen and Beru,
Right.
And much later, the tragic discovery of their deaths.
So someone could actually go to Tunisia
They could.
and have dinner in the same room where the Lars family ate.
Absolutely.
That's pretty wild.
And remember that scene in the movie with the
Yeah.
crate dragon skeleton on the salt flats?
Yeah, was that a real skeleton?
Believe it or not, that was actually a prop.
Oh, really?
Left over from a 1975 Disney movie
Wow.
called One of Our Dinosaurs is Missing.
Wow.
The Star Wars crew had to charter a plane to transport some equipment they'd forgotten,
They did.
and this giant fiberglass skeleton just happened to be on board.
Talk about being resourceful.
I know, right?
Okay, so we've seen the slave quarters,
Right?
the bustling spaceport of Mos Espa,
Yeah,
and the quiet isolation of the Lars homestead.
right.
What other parts of Tatooine did they film in Tunisia?
Well, there's the Jinlin Wastes,
Okay.
the desolate region where Luke has his first encounter with the Tusken Raiders.
Right.
For that, they filmed in Sidi Bouel,
Okay.
a canyon near Tozeur.
Mm-hmm.
The film crew even nicknamed it Star Wars Canyon
Right.
because they shot so many scenes there.
Wow.
For example, this is where R2-D2 gets captured by the Jawas,
Right, yeah.
and where Obi-Wan saves Luke from that Tusken Raider attack.
It's amazing how such a desolate and unforgiving landscape could become so iconic in the Star Wars universe.
I know.
What else is there?
We still have to talk about two very important locations.
Okay.
Mos Eisley Spaceport and Obi-Wan Kenobi's house.
Mos Eisley, the wretched hive of scum and villainy, as Obi-Wan Kenobi calls it.
Yep.
That cantina scene is legendary.
It is.
Where on earth did they find a place that could embody that kind of atmosphere?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Uh,
Remember how we've been talking about Tunisia's deserts?
Yeah.
Well, both Mos Eisley Spaceport and Obi-Wan's house were actually filmed on the island of Jerba.
Wait, Jerba?
Yeah.
An island,
Uh-huh.
but Mos Eisley is in the middle of the desert.
I know.
How did they pull that off?
It's a great example of the magic of movie making.
Okay.
They used set design,
Uh.
clever camera work,
Mm.
and visual effects to make it look like these locations were part of the desert landscape.
Mind-blowing.
I know.
So what can people see at those locations today?
Well, Obi-Wan's house is now a storage facility for fishermen,
Really?
but it's still cool to think that that's where Luke received his father's lightsaber.
Right. And learned about Princess Leia's message.
Yeah.
As for the cantina, it was originally a bakery.
Wow.
It's now surrounded by condos.
It is.
But you can still find pieces of the set scattered around the area.
What?
Apparently, someone found one of the cupolas in their vegetable garden.
Wow.
And the cantina door was found leaning against a chicken coop.
That's pretty incredible and hilarious.
Wow,
And it's like
yeah.
pieces of this iconic movie set are just out there blending into everyday life on the island.
Yep.
This has been an incredible journey so far, and we've only just scratched the surface.
That's right.
When we come back, we'll continue our exploration of the real-world Tatooine. Stay tuned.
Okay. Welcome back to our deep dive into the real-world Tatooine. Before the break, we were talking about how the filmmakers transformed Tunisia's diverse landscapes into this iconic Star Wars planet. Yes, and we were specifically discussing how they turned a tropical island into the gritty spaceport of Mos Eisley. It's amazing to think that these seemingly disparate locations, from deserts and salt flats to canyons and tropical islands, all came together to create this believable fictional world.
It really highlights the ingenuity and creativity of the filmmakers, and it reminds us that inspiration can be found in the most unexpected places. But going back to the desert locations for a moment, we talk about the Ksar used as the slave quarters, those unique structures with vaulted rooms carved into the soft rock.
Yes, those really stood out to me. What's the story behind those?
The Ksar, with their multi-story gorfas, or vaults, offer a fascinating glimpse into the lives of the Berber people and their adaptation to this challenging environment. These semi-nomadic tribes were forced into the hills of southern Tunisia by invaders back in the 11th century.
So they had to find a way to survive in this unforgiving landscape.
Exactly. They encountered this unique landscape with layers of hard and soft rock, and they innovated. Instead of building traditional houses, they carved their homes and storage spaces directly into the softer rock layers.
That's incredible. So not only did they provide shelter from the elements, but they also offered protection from invaders.
Precisely. They strategically placed their food stores at the highest points within the village to make them harder to reach during raids. And if you think about it, this ingenuity and resourcefulness are themes that echo throughout Star Wars. Many of the characters we see in the movies are also fighting to survive in harsh environments and against overwhelming odds.
It's amazing how these ancient structures built centuries ago ended up shaping the visual language of a film, set in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
It has a whole new layer of meaning to those scenes.
It really does. And it's important to note that while the Berber people have largely assimilated with the Arab population over time, the Ksar district remains a vibrant hub of Berber culture today.
So visitors to Tunisia can actually experience that cultural heritage firsthand.
Absolutely. It's not uncommon to see people wearing traditional Berber clothing, especially in the Ksar district. It's a living testament to the enduring legacy of these resourceful people.
That's fascinating. So we've talked about the historical and cultural significance of the Ksar, but let's not forget about the sheer cinematic impact of Tatooine. The visuals in the film are breathtaking, and the landscape plays a huge part in that.
One of the most visually striking locations is the Chott el Jerid salt flat, where they build the exterior of the Lars homestead. This vast, desolate expanse perfectly captures the isolation and harsh beauty of Tatooine.
It's where we see some of the most pivotal scenes in the Star Wars saga. Obi-Wan delivering baby Luke to Owen and Beru, the discovery of their deaths, and those iconic twin suns sitting on the horizon.
The salt flat itself adds a surreal and otherworldly quality to those scenes. Its stark white surface reflects the intense sunlight, creating a blinding glare that amplifies the feeling of oppressive heat.
Speaking of heat, I can only imagine what it must have been like for the actors filming in those heavy costumes under the Tunisian sun.
It was definitely a challenging shoot. In fact, the crew spent nearly 5 months filming at the Mos Espa set alone.
5 months. Wow, that's dedication to their craft. I guess it's no wonder the set looks so authentic, almost like they actually live there.
The attention to detail is remarkable. Even though they only built the first stories of the buildings, relying on CGI for the rest of it, you still feel like you're stepping into a real lived-in spaceport.
It's a testament to the artistry of the filmmakers and the enduring power of practical effects. Even today, years after the films were released, fans from all over the world make the pilgrimage to these Tunisian locations.
It's as if they're stepping into a Star Wars theme park, but one that's seamlessly integrated into the real world. It speaks to the enduring legacy of the Star Wars franchise and the way it has captured the imaginations of generations.
These Tunisian locations are no longer just filming sites. They've become sacred ground for fans. And it's amazing to think that these real-world places have in turn become part of the Star Wars universe.
It's a beautiful example of how fiction can inspire real-world tourism and cultural exchange. The films brought global attention to these stunning Tunisian locations, and in turn, these places have enriched the Star Wars universe with their unique history, culture, and visual splendor.
It's a reminder that even the most fantastical stories often draw inspiration from our own planet. And who knows, maybe there are other hidden gems out there just waiting to be discovered, places that could inspire the next generation of filmmakers and storytellers.
That's the beauty of exploration, both in the real world and in the realm of imagination.